Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to lesson 24 in Fiqh, Jurisprudence. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa afdalu salati wa tammu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. So continuing with Fiqh. Allahumma faqihna fi din, Allah bless us with understanding of deen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So we continue with the author who says now in this new chapter, of this new section of menstruation. فصل ويخرج من الفرج ثلاثة دماء. So, and from the private parts of a woman, from the front private part, exit three types of blood. So that is what this last section is about, because we've been looking at impurities. This is our final section on impurities. Then we'll kind of more or less finish in the next episode. We will look at things that are you're not able to do when you're in an impure state, whether it's through these this blood flowing from a woman or other kind of impure states that we will cover, and that will finish off book of purification, and then we go on to book of Salat, inshallah, in the next episode after the next one. So the author, he says, وَيَخْرُجُ مِنَ الْفَرَجِ ثَلَاثَةُ دِمَاءٍ, three bloods exit from the private parts of a woman. دَمُ الْحَيْضِ وَالنِّفَاسِ وَالْإِسْتِحَاضَةِ. So there's three types, and that is hayd, nifas, and istihada. Menstruation, post-natal bleeding as nifas, and istihada, abnormal bleeding. So what are they? فَالْحَيْضُ هُوَ الدَّمُ الْخَارِجِ مِنْ فَرْجِ الْمَرْأَةِ عَلَى سَبِيلِ الصِّحَّةِ مِنْ غَيْرِ سَبَبِ الْوِلَادَةِ. So it is that blood that exits a woman's private parts from the frontal private part in a healthy manner, in a healthy state. That to menstruate for a woman is a healthy thing. It's a thing that is normal, as the Prophet ﷺ has said in a hadith. هذا أمر كتب الله على بنات آدم. This is a matter that has been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the daughters of Adam alayhi salam. So all women, they go through menstruation, postnatal bleeding if they had a child. And istihada may happen or not. That's that abnormal thing. That's not really the normal thing. So hayd is that happens. That's on a healthy, that blood that comes out and it's a normal healthy thing, and it's min ghayri sabab wilada. So it's not due to childbirth. So we're crossing out nifas. So a woman's not pregnant when she bleeds. That's the blood we talk about when she's in that state, when she's not in a pregnant state. وَلَوْنُهُ mentions the color. وَلَوْنُهُ أَسْوَدْ مُحْتَدِمْ لَذَّةٍ. Its color is black, and then it has a reddishness to it, and it has that hot feeling. A woman, when she goes through this menstruation period, that's how she feels. One nifas, and the next part is nifas. What is nifas? And that is postnatal bleeding. هو النفاس هو الدم الخارج عقب الولادة. So it is that post-natal bleeding. It's the blood that flows, that exits through the private parts post childbirth. So if, let's say, there was twins, after the second twin exits, that second child is born from the twins, then the postnatal bleeding moment starts. Is that blood we talk about, not before, any blood that comes out before or during. والاستحاضة, and istihada is dam al-kharij min fi ghayri ayyam al-hayd wal-nifas. Is basic simply blood, this abnormal blood that comes out, flows out, not in the time when it's hayd, because then it would be hayd, and not when it's time when it's nifas, because it would be nifas, it would be postnatal bleeding. So this is that abnormal bleeding. And then it goes on to the minimum time periods. So hayd, the main thing is hayd that happens on a monthly basis. So it starts at the age of 9 for a girl, and if she was to menstruate from the completion of age of 9, the lunar calendar, then she would be considered she's gone into adulthood. Just like a boy, if he was to, from the age of 9, if he used to have a wet dream, then sperm would exit. That means now he's become a man. They both become responsible. They're adult now. They are responsible for their actions, and everything's going to be written for their book of deeds, of good deeds, bad deeds, and they will be taken into account on that, what they do. So that's that time when they become adults. Of course, wet dream that happens. That's the thing that can happen in the future, but that's not a reoccurring thing. Just how menstruation is. Menstruation is a thing that happens from that moment when it first starts. It can happen on a regular basis. It happens on a regular basis, so it's on a monthly cycle. So it's a thing that's why this whole section is speaks about that. So for women, it's obligatory to learn about these things because it's connected to your ibadah. Once you're in this state, whether you're in a nifas state, whether you're in hayd state or istihada state, you are not able to just pray. You need to, especially for istihada is the most simplest. You just purify the area and you can perform your prayers, or you can perform your prayers. Whereas the other two, you need to then have a ghusl that we've spoken about. You need to have the purificatory bath. Then you're able to pray once that time is complete. For that, as you'll see in the time periods now. At the age of 15, if between 9 and 15, when the age if the wet dream comes or if that menstruation period comes, then they become an adult. But if by the age of 15 they haven't gone through this, then of going through that menstruating period, nor of the wet dream, they automatically at the age of 15, a boy and a girl, become an adult at that moment if they haven't. However, if they do before, until the age of, from the age of 9, they are then regarded as adults, and the law applies to them as adults. So we then go on to the the main thing with this is that we have to, the Sahaba radiallahu anhu ajma'in, they would ask the Prophet about many things. يَسَأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ يَسَأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ, they ask you about the ruh, the spirit. They ask you about the hour, the day of judgment. Another one, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ, they ask you about menstruation. قُلْ هُوَ أَذَى, say it is an impurity. فَاعْتَزِلُوا النِّسَاءَ فِي الْمَحِيضِ, stay away from the women in during their menses. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوهُنَّ حَتَّى يَطْهُرْنَ, and do not approach them until they are cleansed. So they've done that ghusl and then now they're in that in the pure state. So that's the main thing, that we are not like other religions, or let's say non-religions, or the ways that we take the middle path. So some would isolate the woman and there's like a shed for her, and she has to be in another room and stay away from you because they're considered to be impure. No, Islam does not take that approach, nor the approach that, oh, they're actually fine and you know what, you can have relations and sexual relations with them. No, that is not also the case. The main thing is we're not able to, a husband cannot have sexual relations with his wife, and especially enjoyment between the navel and the knees. Anything between the navel and knees is now forbidden when they're in this state. So that is one of the main things. So Islam takes that middle approach for that. And so we define the three things. Now there's that time period for menstruation, post-natal bleeding, and abnormal bleeding. So we're going to see the minimum time, and it continues in the text. وَقَالُ الْحَيْضِ يَوْمٌ وَلَيْلَةٌ, so the minimum time for hayd is a day and a night, which is basically 24 hours. So a woman, to reach this, that she's in a state of menstruation, she has to be that continuous bleeding and non-continuous joint reaching up to 24 hours. Once it's reached that 24-hour period, now she's in a state of menstruation. If it does not reach that, if it's just for 10 hours bleeding or something, then that's going to be basically istihada. That's some abnormal bleeding. That's not hayd. So once it has reached 24 hours, then we don't really count the hours. Then that's it. It goes for however many days. And normally, so that's the minimum period. Majority of women is 6 to 7 days. So then it says وَأَكْثَرُهُ 15 يَوْمًا. Maximum a woman may menstruate is 15 days. وَغَالِبُهُ 6 أو 7, and it's majority of women. If you take a survey, you'll see that it's 6 to 7 days, that they menstruate for 6 to 7 days every single month. وَقَلُّ النِّفَاسِ, and then it talks about nifas. And nifas is, وَقَلُّ النِّفَاسِ, the minimum time for a woman maybe in post-natal bleeding is لحظة, is a moment. وَأَكْثَرُهُ 60 يَوْمًا, and the max time period is going to be 60 days. وَغَالِبُهُ 40 يَوْمًا, and majority of women, they have that postnatal bleeding for 40 days. So they're in that impure state, they cannot pray and they cannot fast, for example. And so once that time period is over, whenever it is, then they need to perform the ghusl and become pure, and then they can be able to perform, attend to their acts of worship that they're commanded to do so. وَقَالُ الطُّهْرِ, so then we look at طُهْر. And by the way, so no abnormal bleeding, there's no time period for a minimum or maximum. It's an abnormal thing, it's not something that happens usually. So out of these times, if there's any bleeding, then that's abnormal bleeding and there's no time period for it set. Well, أقل الطهر بين الحيضتين 15 يوما. So 15 days is the minimum time period for tuhr, is for being in a pure state, because the maximum, if it's 15 for hayd, then the other 15 days for that month is going to be pure. This cannot go up, it's going to be up to 15. So if a woman, she menstruates for 15 days and then 16th day she sees blood, that is now istihadah, that 16th day, because only a max can be 15 days. Let's say a woman, she was up to let's say 8 days she was bleeding, and then she stopped, and then on the 11th day there was some more bleeding. It's going to be considered hayd because it's in that time period of 15 days that a woman can be in that period. So hayd is going to go down. This is the maximum period. So if it goes down, let's say to 6 or 7, that's going to go up. So there's a relationship, that inverse relationship is it called, that one goes up, one goes down. So the pure period will be increased. If it's 6 days, that will be 24 days to complete the month. So that's how that relationship works. But the minimum we have for tuhr is 15 days. We don't have a maximum for it. And then wala had li aktharihi, so there's no maximum for a purified state. So like for menstruation and post-natal bleeding, we have the likes of Fatima radiallahu anha, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She never menstruated, nor did she ever have post-natal bleeding. وَقَلُّ زَمَنٍ تَحِيضُ فِيهِ الْمَرْأَةُ 9 سِنِينَ. So this is what I mentioned about the minimum period of a woman, the age when she starts menstruating is 9 years. That's the lunar calendar. وَقَلُّ الْحَمْلِ. So now it talks about pregnancy. وَقَلُّ الْحَمْلِ 6 أشهر وَأَكْثَرُهُ 64 وَغَالِبُهُ 9 أشهر. And that's the last part, is about pregnancy, and it's talking about the maximum and the minimum times of a woman can be pregnant for. It mentioned 6 months as the minimum period for pregnancy, 4 years for the maximum, and the normal is 9 months. So this is taken by, from in the Shafi madhab by Imam Shafi'i. He through his investigation, he found that there was a woman who for 4 years she was pregnant. So that's just but we're going to focus more on the 9 years, which was the period that normally a woman is pregnant for, because normally even by the time 9 months is up, we have the system that a doctor is not going to let a woman stay in that pregnancy state for 10 months, 11 months, 12 months. They'll take the child out at that 9-month period, where there's a bit more days or weeks after that, or that it's always going to be around that time now. But back then it could have been that it could have gone up to 4 years. So that was just that thing that it was there's notice and stuff, but that's not going to be generally relevant. I'm just mentioning about the different periods of pregnancy. And the next section will be about things that are forbidden to do when you're in the impure state, whether it's through menstruation or whether it's through other things. So menstruation is a period when you are in an impure state for a woman, and she cannot perform ibadah, worship, as she normally would do. Just like a man, he can't do it when he's in a janaba state. He's in that major ritual impurity state, and we will see that in the next episode, the things that are forbidden to do, before we finish off this chapter. Wa sallallahu sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barak sallam.